Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Here we are. We're live. It is Wednesday morning at just after 6, and our intrepid Simpilum Tetwa is in the studio making sure everything's running beautifully. And in his own house in Johannesburg is Alan Ford. We haven't seen you for a while, Al. How are you?
Good morning, Gareth.
Morning. You good? What's been happening? Al, where have you been in the world? We haven't seen you in ages.
Well, listen, I've been dealing with lots of crazy things in my life. I've been traveling, doing a lot of filming. Life has been mental at the moment. Busy, and but things are being good. Things are good. Things are good on my side. And how are you, Gareth? And how the team? How the magical list?
No, we're good. We're all good. So first things first, El. I think I spoke about this on the show when it all happened. But I'm obviously, a lot of people have been sending messages to you, and I'm sure you're still getting them. Your dad died back in was what 2.5, 3 months ago, and he kind of had a lesson for all of us, which I just want to get into very briefly. I know that you're probably sick of talking about this stuff because we've also in the interim, you and I saw each other at another funeral, and it's enough death.
Yeah.
You said when I saw you said I've had enough.
Oh. Can I mention this for a second? So we've lost a lot of great radio greats in the last period of time. So in the small period of time, so we've lost the likes of John Burks, Barry Ronga, Kevin Savage, Jeremy Mansfield's really not well. That's the latest news that's been happening. And I'm thinking to myself, Gareth, are you next?
No.
Who's going next?
You never know. It might happen, hey? I mean, it could be any of us. You never know.
That's the secret. You never know. And so words of wisdom is that really life is to be lived and to be embraced, and don't put things off. But yes, my dad passed away. It's been it has been rough, especially if you're a very close family. The man was playing golf, the sixth hole of Edgecombe, and killed over a heart attack at the age of 69. Which was quite devastating for the family. But he got his dream in the end because he died doing what he loved. And then my mother had to go to the golf course to go and see him because he just died immediately. And so she lay next to him on the golf course. So he had his wife on the golf course lying next to him. He got what he wanted. That's his dream. So as hard.
Wow.
I mean, what are the perfect ways? And I'm not trying to take, it's been rough, but like dying on the golf course, dying in your sleep. It's a great way to die, no suffering. Dying having sex would be fabulous. I mean, just think about it. It would be weird for everybody else, weird for the other people, but great for you.
Oh wow! Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You hear about these people who die in the most horrible ways, and then I thought about your dad because I think you were the one who told me the story when I first heard of it, and I was like, this is obviously it's very sad. But at the same time, what a way to go. Like it's perfect. And it's just so elegant. It's such a great way to kind of, draw the curtain. And if you're going to go, let it be that way. If only we could plan and we could beg and we could put down like an insurance policy to say, that's how we want to go. I mean, what a way.
Well, there was no suffering, of course, and he wasn't sick, so we didn't expect it. That's the first thing. The second thing, and this is quite interesting, is that but the family left behind, the trauma is something else. Because think about it, it's you can say goodbye to people if they still go to a hospital, even if they're in a very bad state, even if they have been that but when a person is just it's over, just like that. It's a very scary experience, and of course the trauma is quite crazy because unlike a car accident, you can blame someone else. Here, the scenario, and I'm not trying to make light of different scenarios. You can blame cancer, you can blame this, you can here. There's no one to blame, and so it's quite a nice easy passage. But people left behind isn't as easy. But yes, if we could write it, it's what a way to go. He loved, as I said, 4 or 5 times a week. He wasn't an old guy, and so he never suffered. And you know, I don't mean to be morbid this time of the morning, but you know, I will never have a picture of him in the hospital in my brain.
Yeah, that's so
I'll,
great.
I'll never see my father dead, so
Yeah.
or sick. And so those are some of the things that you have to weigh up. You know, when I want to tell you a strange story, Danny Kay and myself went off to work with Madiba, and it just so happened we were sitting in a hotel, and who came downstairs and joined us at a table was Gail and Oprah. Okay, and we
Wow.
actually had a discussion. No, I think I told you before, but we had this discussion, and the discussion was Gail's mother had just died of cancer, and she said she wished she had seen, and Danny's brother Jaron had died in that helicopter crash that
Yes.
6 months prior, earlier the year. So he had a devastating year, and we were weighing up the options as which one is better. Is it better to suffer and to at least say goodbye to the person, or is it better to have somebody go in a flash like that?
Certainly,
And we had this actual debate, and I think a lot of the consensus was to see people suffering, not only for that person, for the family, is just so traumatic. So maybe it is quick to have go in your sleep. So a lot of lessons around death, a lot of interesting things. John Burke's really sad to see John go. Of course, great radio legend. But did you were there at the funeral with me?
Yeah.
Did you see where they buried him?
What's that?
Did you see where they buried him?
Yeah.
So I found this quite fascinating. So they obviously found that last row, just so that he got put in front of somebody who had the best view of the whole of Joburg, and I just thought that person must be really pissed off. So Mrs. Cohen, no, seriously, Mrs. Cohen, Stella Cohen was her name, and they put right in front of her, right by that road, and I thought, what a view she's lost. So death has some fun experiences. So I just want to say,
well, I wonder, did they put him? They put him near the front because he was such a famous guy, and he obviously had this amazing reputation, and he'd done so much for South Africa, and he really was in broadcasting terms. There was probably no one better, and so I think he probably got that spot.
It's like putting a high rise in front of your beachfront view. It's just it's like Umschlange today. Let's put a high rise. And all these
well. Dogozo says, El, your mic somehow it's breaking up. I think you're not close enough to it. I'm not sure what's going on there. But Dogozo said earlier when you said it must be great to die having sex, Dogozo says, I don't want to die naked. What do you think of that?
What are the people going to say? That's all I'm thinking. My family would be so horrified. Yes.
But you're naked. At least you go back in you came out in your birthday suit. You go back in your birthday.
Not in a black household. That is not going to. They're just going to be. Is this what she was doing? And then they're going to say, like, if they say you're with the husband and if he survived, they're like, Valley, you killed her. You killed her. This is why she's naked. You witchery. That is, guys, no. That's not.
But
cute.
it's a good way.
It's not. No, and you don't know which family member is going to see you. Like, what if you quite the adventurous person, in the bedroom, and now you're in this messed up position, and there you are, just like guys.
Well, that
No.
I mean, obviously, famously, they found those people who've done that autoerotic asphyxiation, like the guy from In Excess. His name was Michael Hutchins. He was the singer, and he basically. He had a noose around his neck, and he was naked, and he had his penis in his hand because he was masturbating as he died. That was just terrible. Take me off there, Al. Hang on. There we go. I'm just trying to get Alan back on there.
Sorry.
There we go. That's much better. There we go, because we couldn't hear you properly.
Is that a bit better?
There we go. Yeah, did you miss that part about the guy who was jerking off and then and was found with the noose around his neck?
It's taken such a weird. If my mother was listening to this discussion, what a strange discussion. You're to my father.
No, we finished with a tribute to That's done. That's done.
This is gone, Jim. This has just gone really bad stuff.
Hold on. This is not about.
I mean, it's just
not about Alan's dad anymore. Let's be clear, all right, please, everybody. Oh my God. So Al, you did mention earlier that you've seen Jeremy Mansfield recently, and I mean, I was quite shocked when I saw him at John Burke's funeral because it's the first time I've seen him in a while. And we will move off of this in a second. But I saw a lot of people wishing him happy birthday this week, and I forgot that I think it was Monday was his birthday. Ironically, I spoke about him on Monday. But what's the latest there?
Can you hear me, guys? Sorry, I just want to double check. Am I back on?
Yes. Yes. Got you.
Oh, can you hear me? Are we good, guys? Sorry.
Yeah.
That's
perfect.
Technical issues this morning between ESCOM and I've got to tell you another thing about this new 5G thing, but I'll tell you a story now. So, Gareth, you were asking about Jeremy.
How's he doing? Because you saw him more recently than I.
Jeremy's not well. Guys, I'm going to connect. Apologies for this technical mess up, but I'm going to just try to go back to this.
No, but this is fine. There's no problem here.
I'm not hearing anything you just said.
All right. Let's just, you know what, Simpiwe, you try and sort that out quickly. Because you know what L's like. He's gonna get confused, then he's gonna join by 3 different devices, and then it's all gonna get very messy. But we also got to talk to Alan about some other things. You remember months ago, he told us about these hookers outside his apartment in Sandton and how they were being noisy, and he shouted at them, and then eventually he started talking to them, and they had long conversations. I think he wouldn't say friends, but they ended up having interesting conversations. And he's got an update on that one for us too. So we've also got the headlines coming up in a little while. It's going to be a busy show this morning. It is Wednesday. It is already the 17th of August, which is just, by now, whatever isn't done for the year 2022, just forget about it. It's never going to happen. That's just how the year goes. If it isn't done by August, it is finished. Some of the things that are happening in the news this morning, because I know what's going to happen. We're not going to get to them otherwise. There's been a new undersea cable put up in to Melkbosstrand in the Cape, which is promising cheaper and faster internet for all of us here in South Africa. And hopefully that's something which will benefit Al when he joins us in the morning, and a whole lot of other things. So we've got to get into that. We'll also talk about people who gathered 10 years. It's been 10 years since the Marikana massacre. And I think that's probably something worth commemorating. Certainly not something we should be proud of. It's not something that we could put up a memorial or a monument and celebrate. It's something that we should be very ashamed of as a country. But we'll get to that in a short while. And then Durban have had a mental health facility that had a 1.6 million rand electricity bill. So what did Eskom do? They just cut them off. Just cut. Gone. Because you owe this money. There's no way you can pay it. We're just going to cut you loose. So now there's a mental health facility in Durban with no power, which is probably one of the worst things that can happen. Can you imagine? All right, let's see. Al, you back?
I'm back. How's it?
Okay, no, that's better. That's cool. Sorry. So we were just getting an update because I asked you to just quickly give us an update on Jeremy Mansfield. It was his birthday this week, I believe.
So it was his birthday. And I had spoken to Sam Cowan, who's looking after his press and a lot of his personal stuff at the moment. Sadly, Jeremy has gone into palliative care, which means But Sam told me some interesting things. We must get Sam on the show because some fans pretended to be his family and went to hospice, and 2 separate fans. And snuck into hospice, but he's not in hospice, so he's at home. So it was quite strange why people do that. Why would you do that? I don't understand. Why you would do something like that.
You get people who are they just want to be part of the story, right? And often you'll see people in a tragedy. They will pitch up. They have nothing to do with what's happened, but they need to be involved in the story. They need to be around. And I'm sure everybody knows what kind of situation I'm talking about here, because there are these people who just like to be part of a drama.
It's mind blowing. And then people asking Sam if they can get their book signed before he goes, and can they have a photo with him before he goes? And it's quite strange.
Wow.
I want to tell you this is such a sad part of the story, but it's the truth, so it's what it is. Jeremy's not well, and he was planning to go to the Eastern Cape to see his mom to say goodbye the day after his birthday, which was yesterday. And the his mother's had a very rough year. She lost 2 of her sons in the past year, both of his brothers. Of course, her other son is not well at all. And sadly, Gareth, his mom passed away on Monday, on his birthday.
Oh no!
So the family to be in.
Wow.
So you look at death and my experience, and you go, "Wow, at least it's not as bad as that person." So there's a lot of. I mean, you have to see things that way. But he has. Well, but he's still got his great sense of humor. He's still keeping things up on the up. But you know, guys, the fact of that is we're all going to go someday.
Yeah.
And you know what? The secret is just to know that that's the case. A lot of people don't think that they're going to die. They don't think it's going to happen. They think it's so. That's why you live for today. You live your life. You tell your loved ones that they are loved, and that's my words of wisdom at 6:22 this morning.
There we go. Spot on. So Kawe agrees with you. I want to die with a big boner. So, you know, we're getting back to the filthy stuff here. And then Carl DeSantos says, this fucking Alan Ford is so unprofessional.
What? Thanks, Carl. The internet in Eskom. That's insane.
It's different how we do stuff now compared to how we used to do it. We had to be at the studio at like 5 a.m. and then, you know, preparing the show and getting the studio lights on and making sure everything was ready to go. And now, obviously, you're connecting from your house. I mean, it's amazing how much has changed, right?
Yeah, but you know, Gareth, your technical support was always in the studio. So often you're alone. So like, what do you do? Lights go up. Crazy. And on that note, I've got to tell you a very funny thing. Have you seen the new MTN 5G commercial?
No.
Okay, so it's the advert where basically it's actually got a very brilliant ad. It's how because of the fiber, everything stops in the middle of a rugby game. So you see the whole game stop. And Joel Stransky's like busy doing this with his pen, and Sia Khaleesi's looking around, but he's frozen. And it's actually so it's a great ad. And even he just jumped to the ball, but he's like holding the ball in his hand to know what to do. And the guy's got the hot dog in his mouth frozen, and then all the hot dog falls out the roll. And it's a great ad. But MTN was the sponsor of the rugby on Saturday, and I was at Ellis Park, and there was no signal for 4 hours. And it made me think, why? It's like, why would you sponsor something and then not have the cell phone mask? So there was no rugby for 4 hours, no internet, so you couldn't phone anybody. You couldn't tell the family you're safe. And I thought to myself, instead of making that type of commercial, why don't you make sure you got signal at the stand? I mean, imagine selling something. Say, I'm Budweiser, and at the concert I'm selling beer, and then the next thing, there's no beer. What's the point?
Yeah. No, that's very irritating. I didn't realize that.
ATMs aren't working, but your net bank ATM.
Right.
So I just think to myself, this technology situation is crazy. And I've said this, and I mean this. And please just help me, fellow listeners. When you're driving and that signal breaks and you want to go crazy, and you know what I'm talking about. And I've always wondered, you know, Gareth, in the late 60s, they took 3 men and they put them in this little machine and they put them on the moon. They put them on the moon. Yeah. It's incredible. They were walking on the moon. Yeah. And 6 years later, fucking MTN and Vodacom cannot get the signal right. Explain this to me. They put the people on the moon. They can't get the signal right while we're driving its head. Explain this concept.
Yeah, no, it drives people crazy. But it is amazing how we've become so dependent on the phones. And I did see a comment here from somebody. I interviewed a guy called Johan Hari yesterday, and Tracy says, I loved the interview with Johan. Stolen Focus is the name of his book. And he addresses this. You know, we get so frustrated if your phone doesn't do exactly what you want now, when you immediately, because you want it, you're like, oh, these people are so useless. But before, I mean, you had to walk somewhere to get a landline. And sometimes your landline didn't work. You know, you just got used to the feeling of like things don't always work for you. Now we expect everything to work all the time.
But that's what they're selling, Gareth. They're selling convenience. We bought into
No,
convenience. You
Yeah.
see,
Don't
so
tell me then you don't have 5G. I mean, come on.
So,
True.
I mean, Elle, here's an interesting question. From Jean. Jean says, I heard people were robbed on Saturday at Ellis Park. Why is Ellis Park still being used as a venue for anything? I actually spoke to some guys who came out of there on Saturday night because I was having dinner nearby. Well, not nearby to Ellis Park, but in Joburg. And they arrived with their jerseys on and everything. And they said basically it was like, you know, getting away from zombies. They had to run because there were all these robbers and vagrants around the stadium who obviously saw an opportunity because, you know, that part of town is like it's really derelict. It's not the best place to be, especially not at 9 o'clock at night. How did you get in and out?
I must tell you, I found it to be, there were lots of cops. Everything seemed perfect to me. I'm being honest. It was a great experience.
All right.
Out and nowadays you get into park and rides and they've got the car train buses, and so I had a good experience, but of course yeah. But unlike that, you just have to go to Sandton and walk outside my apartment and look at all the so what was I going to worry about Hillbrow for Ponty? That's nothing. Just stand here in Westwood South in Morningside.
So tell me about the hookers, because I believe you have an update. Let's just refresh everybody's memory. You used to have these women who they would work on the corner right outside your apartment. You'd be able to look down from your balcony and you'd see them with their legs stuck out in the road. These machoshas, right?
Well, there were these machoshas, and there are 3 hookers here. Okay, one is named Sarah.
You know their names?
I know their name, and so I mean, I'm just saying. So here's the story. So I'm on the first floor, and I'm the end unit. That's basically, you can hear, it's right here by the Morningside Clinic, right here, you know, close to Rivonia Road. There's a great restaurant and another high-rise building next to me where people go to and have big parties. And these 3 ladies obviously own this corner. This is their turf.
Okay.
So during lockdown, I was so surprised because these 3 ladies would have big conversations, 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's locked in their house, but these 3 hookers are standing on this corner and they're making the biggest noise in the world. So I thought I'll be polite, get some biscuits, and take a walk across the road to say, listen, do you mind keeping it down, you know? And of course they flashed themselves at me and all that type of stuff. But nevertheless, so this noise just continues, not night or night, but let's say at least once or twice a week. And you know, Gareth, 1 o'clock in the morning, you get screaming and laughing outside your window. It's quite scary. Anyway, these machoshas, these hookers.
Do they sound like hookers? Because, you know, a lot of people say when some people laugh, you laugh like a hooker, but do they? I mean, have they got real like hooker laughs?
Well, the 3 of them remind me of those 3 witches from Hocus Pocus, because they really are quite, you know, and the new Hocus Pocus movies come out shortly, by the way. But they're terrible, and they got these short dresses, these big legs. Anyway, I went outside. So Sarah says to me, "Would you like some the P word? Would you like?" And she opened her legs, and I just was like, "Really? And I'm like, I got such a fright. I don't know what shocked me more, my father's death or that. But scary thing to look at. But I don't know what made her flash me. And I said to her, put it away. And now it's time to shut up. And they said to me, if that they'll keep quiet if I give them some money. And I just lost. I just lost it. I mean, I've been trying. I've sent them food, and now they're asking me for money. It's just crazy. So I don't know what to do with these hookers. If people have suggestions, what I could do about the Hocus Pocus 3, the 3 witches from Macbeth on my corner, but I don't know what to do anymore. And they're just making noise, and heckling, and showing their punani to me and to other people. And it's terrible at 2 o'clock in the morning, especially if you don't want to see that.
I've got to say, Carl is quite right here. It's quite admirable the way you've always treated hookers with dignity. mean, this is quite something. A lot of people would have just chased them with a stick or gone down there with a gun, or they're used to quite a lot of violence. I mean, hookers' lives are really tough. They have to put up with clients who sometimes are abusive. The police are obviously horrible to them, and it's nice to know that you've tried really hard with them. I know you've lost your patience now, but
I've been giving bacon, biscuits and things. It's enough.
Yeah,
Money talks,
I mean,
Chief.
yeah. Ethan is saying you should just call the police. Have you tried that?
What are you talking about, Ethan? The police go there, they get put on it. What are you talking about? They get more yeah, this is like porno here. This is pornographic stuff here. No, man. And I just
there's some terrible suggestions here. Tracy says, make it rain water, a good old brandslang. So basically turn on the hose pipe. That's very mean. And Togozo says, pimp them out. If they're busy, they won't be making noise outside your apartment. That's a good point.
And Togozo, you make a very good point, because these are the ugly ones. These are ugly ones. So obviously not. So these ones are
this is tough.
But I wish hot ones I could sell, but I don't know. I just want to sleep. It's just getting a bit much. I don't know what to do there. And then I seen the guard, the poor guard. I think the time the guard comes back out there with his hair, so maybe he enjoyed it. But I don't know what to, and I don't like the hookers in my area because they take the value of the property down. I don't know what is due to the value of a property. I don't care. Just get off the street. Go rent the ass from there. And it's like, it's odd. It like happens on a Tuesday night. It's like, who's up on a Tuesday night? What are you doing? I don't know. So
everybody that's stressed. I think I have a solution for you. Alan, I think you need to play their game. First and foremost, they're in the profession of making money. The only thing that they'll resonate with and come to some sort of understanding is money, right? And I think that's what I'm not saying pay them, what they demanding, because that's just extortion. But you need to speak the lingo of currency, of, you need to make it worth their while in terms of like, hey, Tuesday nights, if you guys are not around or you get this done by 8 o'clock, we'll get the whole complex to like pay you guys 100 rand, get everybody involved, 200 rand, 500 rand, whatever the case may be. And that's the only way. You can't do it on your own. Like, you need to get other people and manpower to be like, 500 Tuesdays, 8 o'clock, you're out. Doesn't matter who you with. We've booked your services out for like 5 hours. Come on now. And then, or bring other pretty chicks in the mix. That's also what you do, girls get threatened.
They fight with that corner. If another girl takes their turf, they slap each other. They have a bitch slap there. I hear the strangest things. But my corner, so I don't want to pimp them out. I just want to sleep, and I want them to just keep quiet. I don't mind them on the corner. Just talk softly. You don't have to scream and laugh in the middle. That's what I'm saying. But I'm certainly not doing a collection for the hookers on my corner. I'm not doing a fundraiser.
Help a hooker out. There's the payoff line. I got you.
Technically also, if you end up raising money in your complex and you end up giving these women, I don't know, 500 rand a month just to go away or to not make so much noise, then technically you're actually paying hookers. So that means you're all technically soliciting, right?
I don't know.
It's called charity. A random act of kindness.
I don't need them. They will just go away. I mean,
I don't know why this poor you, because I used to live just down that same road that you're in. I moved in and out before you moved into that building you're in at the moment. I know exactly where you are, and there weren't hookers then. It wasn't a problem. It's typical. No, like it should happen. It should happen to you when you move there. It's just unbelievable.
Because Oxford's not so busy anymore. So they've gone to Sandton. They upgraded. From the Oxford. It was Hillbrow before, then Oxford, then it moved up to Rivonia Road. Now it's moving into it. There's this Maslow restaurant here, and I think there are a lot of guys that have Ferraris and stuff, so they hang there. This West Road South has become very busy here. But if you want to help me, come and collect them, please. Come and fetch them. That would be a solution. Come and book. But I'm not paying them. I don't want to get money. I don't want to. I just want you to shut up, please.
All right. Okay. So let's just talk through a little bit, because things have been really busy for you lately, and we're just doing a general catch up with Elle. We'll get to some headlines in a moment. So we can preview a couple of things, because we've got to do headlines next. So I want to talk to you about OnlyFans, because you've got a story there as well. And we've also got to talk about your Instagram was hacked, which was quite an ordeal. We've got to talk about that as well. So all of that is coming up with Alan in just a little while. We've got a busy morning for you. Don't panic. A couple of stories in the news that we need to look at today, though. And Simpiwe, if you can just see whether you can maybe help Elle sort out that microphone. A lot of people are saying that it's just cutting in and out the whole time. So I don't know what's going on. But if we can just figure that out while I'm going through some headlines, then hopefully when you come back, it'll all be sorted. So I mentioned this just a moment ago, but Google have laid an undersea cable, which has just popped up at Melkbosstrand. And this, they say, will provide much better internet. It's gone all the way from Portugal in Europe along the west coast of Africa. It is 144 terabytes per second. It's a 12 fiber pair Equiano cable, if that means anything to you. It promises faster internet speeds, reduced internet prices, and it comes online before the end of the year. It also coincides with work on the world's longest undersea cable, which is called the Metabact to Africa, which will also connect South Africa and is expected to come online in 2024. So even though we're sitting here dealing with Eskom, where there are obviously a lot of problems, plenty of things that aren't happening that should be happening, power cuts. In fact, last night I had load shedding suddenly out of the blue, which I'm sure a lot of people did. I've mentioned that on Friday I'm looking forward to some water cuts, which is not going to be great either. But at least somewhere, someone is busy upgrading things. And it's great to know that our internet speeds are likely to improve because of these undersea cables. Very, very good news indeed. Something else that's in the news that you need to know about this morning, and I did mention this, but hundreds of people have gathered at the Marikana Koppie. It is 10 years since the massacre at Marikana, and lots and lots of people were there to commemorate it. 34 miners, of course, were killed when officers opened fire on them, and 10 others died in the days leading up to it. So you remember that they had overalls and blankets. Community members and miners danced and sang while they were holding sticks. Some wore uniforms of the AMCU Union. Families of the miners who also attended the event, along with survivors, was a UDM leader, Bantu Holomisa, one South African movement leader, Musa Maimane, and Dalimpofu, among others. People sat on camping chairs and had cooler boxes of alcoholic drinks with them. Children ran around, including some in pajamas. So it seems like it turned into a bit of a picnic. Mike Koza, who was seated in a camping chair while enjoying the entertainment on the stage, told News 24, on this day, 16th of August, 10 years ago, I was here protesting as well. I witnessed the police opening fire and we ran in different directions, not knowing where to go. But it's interesting that now it's turned into like a bit of a picnic rather than a commemoration. So that's interesting. Who needs electricity, says Matthew, when you have fast internet? Well, you kind of need both, right? So I understand where you're going with this. If it ran along the east coast of South Africa, it would have been stolen already. That's what DK says about the undersea cable. Oh, trust me, because the pirates in Somalia, they would definitely have found a way to steal that cable. Letukolo says the book could be called The Chronicles of Alan and the Three Loud Hookers. That would be a nice name for your biography, Al, don't you think?
The Chronicles of Alan and the Three Loud Hookers, yeah. I'll go with it, yeah.
Someone here says, skip the money, Al, and go straight to the drugs. A bit of heroin will shut them up for the night.
I'm not being funny. I thought of buying, there's those terrible monkeys in Durban. Those vivid monkeys. Those,
vivid monkeys,
yeah. And Sun City, and they shoot them with a paint gun. I thought of buying a paint gun. Because I thought firstly, it would ruin their guests, their dresses.
Their dresses, yeah, no, you can't do that. That's terrible. Someone actually suggested that in the comments as well. You can't do that because they'll know it's you. They can see where it comes from. Simply where you're on mute.
They're going to be petty and they're going to do things on purpose. They're going to be worse. They're going to be louder. In fact, they just might be busy up on your doorstep. You don't want that kind of heat. No. They're going to play the long game with you. You might have got them this week. Oh, honey, they'll bring 4 or 5 customers and be like, this is my house. And they're right in front of your doorstep. Child, no.
So, El, what happened with your Instagram? I'll tell you what happened from a user point of view. Like, I'm friends with you on Instagram, and I suddenly saw a message from you in my inbox. Now, you've never sent me a DM on Instagram, and I suddenly got this message from you saying, "Have you bought this Bitcoin? Because if you buy this through me now, it's about to go up in value. It's a terrific deal, and it's a huge steal, and you've got to take advantage of it now." And I immediately thought, oh, hang on, this is not, you would never try and sell me shit like that. So I replied immediately and said, you can go and suck a horse's dick or whatever. And then the reply came back, no, I'm being serious. You can get this and that. Just give me your bank details or whatever. So I blocked and kind of got rid of your account and reported it. But I realized something was going on. What happened? How did they get into your account?
So this is what happened. It's very simple. I got a request. Okay. I got a lot of people sending me messages. We've got a few thousand followers. And I had someone, a well-known South African actor, request that I vote for them for an awards. And I know the guy. So I was like, of course I'll vote for you. Click on the link. So I clicked on the link. And as I clicked on the link, nothing happened. And then he never replied. And I thought, did it work? Did it work? What a rude dude. What a rude dude. And then the next thing, I was sitting, seriously, I took my mother back to Durban. It's very, between the hookers and the death and the Instagram hacking, it's been very traumatic. Lots going on. And then I see I'm kicked out of Instagram and I'm trying to get back into Instagram. And I can't get into Instagram. So I leave it for a couple of days thinking it's something wrong with my device. I can't get into this whole story. And maybe I forgot the codes because it took this face shot and I don't know, all that stuff. I don't know all these things. It's quite complicated. But this is the thing, that I ended up being harassed by this particular... Firstly, everybody started phoning me. You did. And I'm talking about like Yvonne Chaka is phoning me to say, Ellen, what's wrong? What's the emergency? Can you help? Because the message read, can you help me, please? And so obviously, and my brother phoned me. What's wrong? I'm like, what are you talking about? No, you asked for help. You said you need help urgently. So I literally had, and this was the crazy part. And thank you, I love all the people that love me. But the hundreds of messages that came through my cell phone from people saying, what's wrong? And this happened for 3 or 4 weeks. Now, I want to tell you this account is still live, and Instagram has not taken it down because they are quite pathetic, actually, in so many ways. I can't even begin to tell you. That they haven't removed it. You've reported it, Gareth, you and probably another 1,000 people, and they haven't got rid of this account.
So you're telling me that whoever hacked you then sent out a message saying, I need help desperately, it's an emergency, obviously to ask for money, and they sent this to everyone who follows you.
Everybody. So from people like soccer players like Lucas Adebe to Ryan Buerta to my brothers to whomever, to yourself, to Bongani Bingwe was on the breakfast show on 702, and he was like, he stepped out of studio thinking there was something wrong. So this has been a very annoying, very, very annoying experience. And I've reported it and nothing is happening. And it's crazy. So if anyone knows anyone in Instagram in South Africa or someone I can phone, because I'd like to phone them to swear them, because they are actually worse than the hookers. I actually think Instagram's worse. The hookers were better. Leave the hookers are better for me than the Instagram people.
So
but here's the thing.
Hang on, you can't get your account back. It's frozen.
No, and I don't care about the account. I'm done with this thing. I started a new account. I've got no problem with that. But here's the thing, and this is what's bothering me, is that so I've now decided to engage with the hacker, who is an extorter. So I thought, let me now engage with the hacker. So this is what I did. Right. I said, please, because they contacted me on my new Instagram account. So I said, okay, let me open Alan Chubby Ford. By the way, I need followers. Please, will you subscribe? Because I lost all my people. So if you listen to this, Alan Chubby Ford.
Alan Chubby Ford on Instagram.
Please send a friend request. I've lost all my photos. It's very depressing, this whole thing. I've been through the trauma of a death and then the trauma of Instagram. And the hookers, 3 of them, that's just driving me nuts. So here's the thing. So the guy says to me, give me $1,000 and I'll give you your account back. Now, and some people, unlike you, I will not pay the people. I will not pay. I won't do the collector to pay the hookers. I won't pay for the extra. So I'm negotiating with this dude. And I said some strange things. I said, I'm in Africa and I've got a sangoma to put a witch spell on you. And so if you don't give it back to me, I thought this would work, because I thought maybe they're in the East, they're in like China, so like they're going to be scared of witchcraft. So I said, and the guy says, I'm not scared. I said, I put a spell on you, and bad things are going to happen to you if you don't give me back my Instagram. And this negotiation, which is so frustrating, I'm so busy, is happening between myself and the hacker, who claims to be a Spaniard in America.
Yeah,
so I'm finding a Spanish way to put a pox on you, and it's just crazy. I'm doing everything, and it's just not working. And then finally the guy says, so I'm like, okay, let me negotiate, because I really want to get this thing back. Oh, thank you. Marissa Harris has just started following me. Shira, how you doing? I'm loving it.
People now following. All right. Don't get this guy, he claims to be in America. He claims to be Spanish, and now you've had to find some kind of Spanish pox to put on this guy.
No, but seriously, I'm putting muti, and I'm telling him that I'm putting a witch, voodoo doll, the whole vibe. Anyway, cut along, and I'm swearing him like no one's business. The words I've used, that it's just unbelievable words, which I've never used before. And I'm putting a spell on the guy and wishing the most terrible things to this person. Here's the thing. Now, which nobody knows, which I found very fascinating, is that the Instagram hacker then decided to create a fake profile and a conversation between myself and quite a good-looking woman. And he said, if you do not, because my mother's name is Carol Ford, and they didn't realize my mother. He says, if you do not pay me the $1,000, I'm going to send this fake conversation between you and this other woman, a sex conversation, to your wife. So this was fascinating, because now now I'm gay, so I'm not having a conversation with a woman. But here's the thing, and I said that to him, and then he said, okay, well, then he made a conversation with a man, but with nude photos. So there were these naked photos. So let me put my notifications on silent, because now my Instagram's gone mad.
I hear your phone going beep, beep, beep the whole time. Yeah,
I know. Thank you, Alan Chubby Ford.
Send me followers. All right, so hang on, Al. So at the moment, we're just a bit confused here. How did you find out that he's doing these fake conversations with women? Did he tell you this?
Because he's having a conversation and he's sending me screenshots of these fake conversations he's made. He's actually made up conversations as though I'm having an affair, and then this naked photos of this woman that he's going to send. The woman doesn't exist, but that's to the lengths to which they went to hacking this account. But something does bother me, and I do want to discuss this for a moment and get your thoughts on it. Who do you phone? In the past, if something happens, like the hookers are driving us mad, or they're trying to extort money from me outside my room, my house, I could always go to the police. I can always there is some form of legal action I can take. There is some form of protective action. This fake account is still sitting on the profile of the Instagram. I have sent them messages, and so there's nothing you can do. And this has now been, as you know, 6 weeks. Actually almost close to 2 months. So what do I do? And it's so out of your control. And this is the scary thing about technology, is that guys, our lives are all out there. Our lives are there. And
so this person can also have access to all the people you know through your Instagram now. And clearly, even though I mean, it's hilarious that you and this hacker are having this ongoing conversation. But actually, it's not cool, because this person has the power, even if it's all made up, to really put some terrible things out there on the internet about you having an affair, or you lying, or telling your friends that you've been in an accident and you need money desperately. I mean, all of these things, this is where it crosses into real life. You know, if it was a bunch of strangers who you didn't know, you wouldn't care. It wouldn't bother you. But the fact that you've got actual living friends calling you going, "Hey, Al, is everything okay?" I mean, nobody wants that. Nobody wants that to happen to them.
And it can get a little bit even. Here's the thing: is that
I'm
not
dark,
the first. It is dark, and I'm not the first person, because they've tried other people. They actually have hacked. Now, hold a second. I wanted to show you something. You know, Gareth, these tools, if you're single or even if you are involved, are good ways to have date conversations. You can have sex talk on your Facebook, on your Instagram, in the direct message boxes. Thank goodness didn't use it on that particular platform. But can you believe? Yes, you can. You can have sex conversations, and so all your private stuff is sitting there, and then isn't it? That's just Ethan. Yes, sex conversations, Ethan. You can have them. Yes. I don't know, but Ethan, I'm single. I can have as many sex conversations as I want. But what about the married dude out there? and it's crazy. The whole thing is just nuts. So, and then the worst thing is that they want to take screenshots and then put it on your feed. So my whole family, the priest in the Lebanese community, is going to see my sex talk with this woman which doesn't exist.
Right.
And that's the thing, is that it's. But I still don't know what to do. I don't know how to cancel it. And Gareth, if you know anyone, or if you can speak to anyone from Instagram, if they're listening to the show, I know you have listeners all over the world.
Listen, here's the problem: is like supposedly, Facebook have an office here in South Africa, and there are people, and they've all been interviewed in various publications, because they've got this job of being in charge of, Facebook South Africa or whatever. I don't even know who it is. Google have supposedly also got offices here in South Africa, and you hear people in advertising, "Oh no, we're doing quite a lot of work with Google or with Facebook." But it doesn't seem like anyone in this country has the power to A, sort out simple problems like yours, B, are doing anything. They've got these offices, and people walk into these offices and sit down, and I don't know what they do. They have coffee, but then this is the stuff they should be doing. This is where I don't understand why there should be a Facebook office anywhere, because you could do everything digitally anyway. If it's got to do with advertising, or it's got to do with marketing, or any of that stuff. What you need these people for is so you can walk into the Facebook office and say, "Hey, listen, someone has taken my account. Here it is." Almost like you go to Home Affairs if someone steals your ID.
100%.
And you can walk in and deal with a person, because I don't know how many people they employ at Facebook South Africa, but there should be someone there who is dedicated to solving these problems for people. This is happening every single day. People are being taken advantage of. And apart from the very hilarious sex conversations that they're creating for you, there's some very serious and dark stuff going on here. I mean, you can pretend to be someone, you can extort money from somebody, you could lie you could fake a death, you could fake all kinds of terrible things that could have massive real world consequences for somebody that have nothing to do with like the hilarious stuff that we're talking about this morning, and can really devastate someone.
And I'm not being funny. Yvonne Chaka Chaka had a heart attack. She didn't know what was going on. So she was like, what's going on? I'm like, so she's phoned me on my phone. But I'm giving an example that you also have people that are older that don't know how these all work. And I spent 2 weeks funneling about maybe 500 telephone calls and WhatsApps and people that were phoning to see if I'm okay. It really bothered me to such a crazy extent. And I want to just say this, let me put this out there. I don't really care about that Instagram account. So hack it, I'll start a new one. I don't care about that.
Right.
And but all in all, I don't know. I just think we need to get that. It's similar to Uber, Gareth. I had problems with Uber back in the day in Cape Town. And there's no office. There's no one you could phone at Uber. So if you get, and I'm not saying, but something really bad happens, you got to push 1. Was the car scratched?
Yeah.
Push 2. Were you raped? Push 3. Were you
No, I mean, it's
were you
outrageous.
shot?
I mean, these are huge
Push
big
1 for rape.
companies, and
I mean,
these yeah, I mean, who wants to, that we can make light of these things, but that for
no,
someone
I'm
who's
not
gone
being
through a
funny.
serious trauma. No, I know. For someone who's been through a serious trauma, that they must sit there and, how can we help you? And they connect you to some call center somewhere. These are
No, there
huge
isn't a call center.
Well, even worse. These are massive companies. They make massive amounts of money. They should put some of that money back into actually delivering a service for people who have had their identities compromised, who've had their accounts stolen and hacked from them. It's a very serious thing. And I mean, you're not the only one who's gone through this. We did have a guest on not so long ago. Someone even brought it up again. Someone said the same thing happened to one of your guests' wives once when we had them on. And that's exactly right. You can't ever, it seems, get your account back. There's just no way to do this. And even for companies, if someone hacked into the Discovery website and they managed to get all their social media accounts, can you imagine the damage they could do to the brand? Because we already know how dangerous social media can be. People can say anything they want. It can be really, really bad for the reputation of a company. It can also lead to, direct misinformation. And there's got to be a way that these companies can be held to account, these big social media platforms. They have to be able to have much easier ways for us to get control of what is seemingly our own identity on social media back. It's a big deal.
And I want to tell you, I can understand why people don't go onto social media. I get it. I understand why people now say, I want to stay away from these platforms. And you know what? The strange thing, Gareth, they knew this guy had obviously really hacked it, did his research. Crooks are very clever people. They're not stupid. So he knew about my father's death, when the funeral was, because all my posts and my messages spoke to a lot of things. He knew that well, because he saw me, he presumed the woman was my wife, but I mean, I don't have a wife. So, but he had done quite a bit of research to find out who are the influential friends and who had money and and he hacked into over 15 people that I know through me and hacked into their account and did the same thing. So
wow.
you know what would have been so easy, and I'm not being funny. I would have called the United States, said, "Hi, my name is Alan Ford. This is my password. This is the code. Please cancel my account like a credit card.
Right.
Cancel the account. I can't phone anybody, guys. It's 2 months. 2 months, the account is still operating. Gareth, you and everybody else reported it. Over 1,000 people I know, and I'm not exaggerating, reported the account. Surely you see that someone's reporting the account 1,000 times, that you stopped the account.
No, they don't respond.
So basically, I can send you child porn, and you report the child porn, and then 1,000 people will still report child porn sent from someone. And they don't even look at the account to say, boom, let's cancel the account.
Yeah, but if you really want to get their attention, all you have to do is, like, if someone who's transgender, just use their old, what they call their dead name, and suddenly you'll find yourself banned from Instagram. So they get upset about that. If you insult Kamala Harris, you'll get into trouble. But you won't get into trouble. If you support Donald Trump, you'll be canceled. But you actually do really terrible things like you're talking about, nothing happens. Right.
And there's another one other interesting thing about this whole thing, and that is that you literally can con anybody. I can speak to anyone. Gareth, you got a message from me. If you and I had a bit more of a different rapport, you might have been fooled and conned, and you might have bought that Bitcoin. I mean, we hear about these Nigerian hacks all the time, and we laugh about it, But why is it that we give so much power to criminals, and we can't take that power away? And that's the problem.
Also, it's worth just saying, if someone sends you a link, they ask you to vote for them or something, don't do it. I mean, I know you were trying to help a friend of yours in an award, or that's what it looked like anyway. That's how they get you to open up your account to them, and it can be the last step you take, and then you lose control of everything. So it's a real disaster. Anyway, it's 7 o'clock. We got to take a quick break. We will be back in a minute. We got Alan Ford with us, Simpiwe Mtetwa, and we've got a busy Wednesday morning. Stick around. CliffCentral.com. Don't go anywhere.
Up next in the Auto Trader podcast. you must be at least a minimum age, and usually it's around 23, even in South Africa. So I didn't know that the first time I went to try and hire a car that's something that they consider.
Well, it's down to risk, I guess.
It is, yeah.
So companies can put whatever rules they want in place. So different car companies can have different ages. They can say you have to be 30 to hire a car from us. So it's not a law. It's a car hire company rule. So 23 or older, it's probably they've taken it from each other and applied it. I don't think it's not a legal thing. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
cliffcentral.com on a Wednesday morning. We've got Alan Ford here. We've got Simpiwe Mtatwa. We've got a busy day ahead of us. Lots of good things happening, hopefully, in your life. Hopefully you are busy. Hopefully you've got plenty on your agenda, because you don't want to be going into the end of the year without anything to do. And also, money's tight at the moment. I mean, Al, you were in Franschhoek recently. That place they never run out of money there. Obviously, the people who live in Franschhoek are just so much money, such a great life. What a place to live. I mean, it's just filled with millionaire and billionaire retirees.
And here, so I've been sober for 18 months, and so I went for Bastille Day celebrations in Franschhoek, which obviously was the 14th of July. And I've got to tell you, these fancy people, a drunk is a drunk.
They still do the ratchet things.
They are ratchet.
Slur. They ghetto.
These rich people are like, they're just so fancy and drunk. But they're walking, and it's insane. It's insane. I've never seen everybody drunk. I felt like I was in an apocalypse or something crazy like that.
Apocalypse.
Seriously. So I've stopped drinking. So let's get this out the way so that anyone who's in the therapy group say to me, but it does mirror a lot of the way you behave, perhaps to some extent. But hell, these are rich people, and they drunk, and they grub, and it's terrible stuff.
Let me ask you this.
And the woman's boob is popping out, and she's wearing a 10-carat diamond.
But hang on, because this is quite a story. So you actually went into rehab, and you decided that you were going to give up alcohol, which I think is a brave thing. I mean, you and I have been friends for a long time. I know that you used to be able to drink like a fish. You were an animal. You used to party very hard.
Like a whale, whale.
How's your life changed since you've been sober for 2 years? I mean, what do you do for fun now? Because this is a South African thing, right? We make light of it and we're joking about it now. And Simpiwe and I often will joke about how, the last weekend you had this terrible hangover or whatever, but it's a very South African thing. It's what we do. When South Africans go out, they drink. And you talked about the rugby on Saturday. People drink. You talk about when people want to meet somebody, they go out and drink together. This is what people do. And it's like a social lubricant. And if you cut that out of your life, what can you do? South Africans don't know what to do when that happens.
Well, it is weird. So you got to read your whole life. It's really the truth. Everything changes. It's quite strange. You become a bit of a bore. So hopefully there's and if I would need those hookers across the street just to have some enjoyment. But a part of the program is you can't pay for sex. By the way, no gambling,
really?
No paying for sex. Yeah, because it links to other addictions and
you'd be replacing one addiction for another.
For the other, yeah. So it does change your life, but they call it the rewards of recovery. Firstly, my business has trebled, so that's great. So I'm much more focused, and that's a good thing. Secondly, I would have been a basket case through family trauma like my father's death that I've experienced. I would have just been crazy. I would have been like, vomiting and jumping off the building and jumping onto the hookers down the street. It's just be terrible. So it's just. And crying and doing crazy things. I still was very emotional, but I was able to feel my feelings, not drink my feelings away or hide them under under the blanket of alcohol. But here's the thing: is that Gareth, and I'm not trying to stand up and point my finger and do this, but we don't realize that how close we are as a nation, or a lot of people are on the fine line of actual alcoholism and tipping over. That's the scary point. The scary point was to see those so-called fabulously rich people in Franschhoek with multi-million rand cars and all the money in the world behaving properly like hobos. Okay, actually, the hobos even behave better than them. And here's the thing:
how do you decide if because everybody has a different definition, and there are obviously textbook definitions, and the rehab centers will tell you you're an alcoholic when it starts taking over your life. You can't do without it. How do you draw the line between someone who drinks and someone who's an alcoholic?
Okay, Gareth, it's quite simple for me. For me, is that I like to drink alone, so there was a problem. There's point A. Point B was I was a binge drinker, which is bordering on alcoholism, because if you're blacking out in a club and you don't remember going home and that's not good. Okay. If you're taking a dry July or a sober October, your mind is telling you, I'm drinking too much, so I have to stop. It's like going on diet. You've eaten far too much cake, you're eating too much cake, so we go on diet. If you're having to take a time off from drinking, and then listen to the people around you, because if your wife is whining about it all the time, or your mother is saying something to you about it, or your friends are saying to you, gee whiz, you were drunk on Saturday night, and then the next bunch of friends the next week were saying, wow, we couldn't get you home, you were so drunk. Remember, I never drank every day. I never, to this day, I have not touched a drink in the morning. I've never, I've had it at 3 o'clock in the morning, but I mean, not when I wake up. I've never done that. So I'm still an alcoholic. And but the fact of the matter is, here's the thing, and it was scary. It's a scary mirror. I was at the rugby. I was quite annoyed because everyone was so drunk also. And I mean, I'm sitting with fancy people in a box and they're getting pissed. And I'm thinking to myself, is this what I look like? And it is what I look like. That's the scary thing. That's what I look like. And so when you're the only sober person, you don't understand how bad the rest of the people look. And you look ridiculous. And you repeat yourself 20 times over. You tell me the same story and you're drunk. and you guys have been there. You'll know this. And if you're listening to this,
we all think we're we're the okay drunk, but we might not be. We in fact probably are a very embarrassing specimen ourselves. I mean, Simpiwe, is this making you uncomfortable? Like it's making me uncomfortable?
Yeah, I'm starting to be like, child, I used to think I'm cool. Now I'm like, maybe I'm even like, everyone's looking at me and they're like, you need to go home now. Yeah, and I'm like, the life of the party. Let's go. Tequila shots. Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I was the life of the party. Here's the interesting thing is that if I can recommend something, someone asked me, what is your advice around this? Is that don't get to a stage. So you enjoy a couple of pieces of cake. That's great. But you don't have to be 500 pounds. Don't get to 500 pounds. Don't get to the stage where you are drinking. First, it's a disease. You never know when it's going to creep up on you.
Right.
It's like that first bit of cancer cell that you get, and then it's 2, and then it's 4, and then it's 6, and then it's 20, and then it's 50, and then it multiplies very quickly. So you got to watch how often you're drinking. And I'm not here to lecture people on drinking. I'm trying to tell you, if I could change anything, I wish I controlled it, so I never had to get to a situation where I had to stop forever, because it can be a damn ball. Fact.
So do you drink mocktails now, or do you just order like?
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed 0% beer. You're not allowed mocktails, at least for the first 1 or 2 years. Oh no, that
really?
Yeah,
nothing.
Because Gareth, you've got to understand that there are alcoholics, drug addicts. I want to use these particular 2 groups of people, okay, and the same guys who use the benzos and that. You know, the consequences of your habit or of your disease are losing your job, losing your family, losing your custody of your children. We're talking about massive car accidents, killing people. We're talking about massive consequences. Okay, so we can make light of having a job, but there are massive consequences to blacking out and not remember what you're doing. Imagine, I could land up with those hookers across the road. That would be just a massive consequence. Terrible. So
or in jail or in the ground. I mean, you're right.
I've been to jail. I've been to jail. I've been to jail. It's, let me tell you my jail story. No one knows the story. And if my mother listens to this, she'll kill me. I'll tell you my jail story. I got arrested. I went down. So I was in Cape Town. Let me tell you the story. I was in Cape Town, and I went to a party, a very fancy party, but where everyone gets so smashed. But it's in a 50 million rand house in Clifton, and I decided on my way back to the hotel to stop at Soul Saloon, which was a 24-hour place where you could get a hamburger in Cape Town.
Right.
So I wanted to get some chips, and then I was walking on the streets of Sea Point, and I hate drug dealers, and they always stop you in the roads in Cape Town. So the drug dealer came up to me and he said, "Hey, you want coke? You want coke? You want coke?" And I lost my temper.
Are you sure you didn't mean? Do you want cock? Because I mean, it could have been saying that as well.
No, it was coke. It was coke. The cock I would have. No,
you might have been.
I might have gone. But if you walk the roads of Sea Point and you walk past the clubs, the club areas, they're on all the corners asking you. And I've just had enough. So I pushed this dude, and I got rather annoyed. And next thing, a cop car stopped on the side of the road. The Sea Point, the police of Sea Point. I don't know what they have, their own police force, I think. And anyway, and then they called the police, and the police comes, and I sit in, and I was quite chuffed because I was like, "Please arrest this man. Yeah. He's offered me drugs. I've pushed him, but he's offering for the kids." And guess what they did? They arrested me.
What?
Ooh.
Yeah. So they put me in the back of the car.
They thought you were soliciting.
No, because, and I'll tell you now. So the drug addict that didn't arrest, Alan Ford, the nice guy, they arrested on the streets. So I mean, it's just absurd. So I go in the back of the vehicle, and I'm like, "You're not serious." I'm actually laughing, but I think they're trying to take me away from, in my brain, I think they're taking me away from the drug addicts, the drug dealers, so they don't kill me. So I thought, okay, cool. I arrive at the police station. I'm laughing about this whole thing, thinking it's so funny. And the guy said, "Sorry, your charge is drunken walking."
Yeah.
The bylaws in the city of Cape Town is you are not allowed to be drunk walking on the streets. Do you know that? So I didn't have booze in my hand. I had nothing in my hand, and so Patricia DeLille was mayor at the time. I was locked up in jail for walking drunk in the street.
Right.
So it was a horrible experience. I was crying. They gave me bread and coffee in the morning. They let me out after like 6 hours. It was a terrible experience. But there's the city of Cape Town for you. There's the hypocrisy. The DA arrests.
Give you bread and coffee in the morning.
And coffee in the morning, like through the jail. It was terrible. And there's the DA for you in the Western Cape. The drug dealers stay on the streets, but the drunk people walking, they go to jail. Work it out. You work it out.
Wow. Okay. Well,
so I phoned
another
Patricia DeLille. I was so annoyed.
Another good reason not to be drunk. So what did you say to Patricia DeLille? She's the mayor. She knows you now. You spent a night in her jail.
It's a bar city law. I said, I've never heard of it. Guys, you walk. Come on.
Bylaw, yeah.
But whatever, bar your city. I don't know what that means. But nevertheless, but at the end of the day, I mean, she said, shame. Don't worry, I'm Patricia. I love you. I'm the love party. Isn't she the love party or the good party? Whatever. Sometimes always changes a party. 1 week she's this party, next week she's that party. She's having a party. I don't know what's going on with this woman. She's very confused. I think she is confused. But and look at Parliament, it's still burnt down. How's that, Patricia?
I know it's a disaster.
But here's the thing. At the end of the day, yes, you can really get stopped on the road for drunken walking.
Yeah, it's
so
called
don't
public
drink and walk.
intoxication. Right. So
exactly.
it's Coronasport. So it's not just Cape Town, actually, Al. That's a thing all over the country. It's just they don't implement it anywhere else because the police in Joburg are too busy doing the drug deals themselves.
Yeah, but Cape Town, I've got to just tell you, Cape Town, and I'm going to say this, the DA controls that city, and they're all very proud of themselves, the DA. But I often think to myself, have you seen the drug dealers? I'm yet to see drug dealers on the streets. Hookers, yes, but drug dealers, no. And every corner in Cape Town, if you walk from the bottom end of Sea Point, close to Bantu Bay, right through to the end of Greenpoint, past to the Devatakant, each of those corners have got drug dealers, and how these guys are not arrested is just insane.
Here's Jean wants to know: was that coffee you had? I bet it was Rick coffee in the morning. It must have been.
It was chicory. I'm sure it was chicory. I'm sure it was.
Well, you can't exactly be demanding, the best cup of coffee in a jail cell, like.
No. And you know what made me cry? Because I was quite scared. I'd never been in a jail cell before. It was a terrible experience. I started crying because I probably was sobering up and realized what's going on, and I thought it was a joke. I still had to pay a fine. But here's the interesting thing: is that I had some hookers next to me in the jail. So these women were screaming.
I've never met a gay man who's had so much attention from hookers in his life.
Alan, I think you need to take this as a sign. I think you just need to
you
start.
You brought it up quite a lot this morning. I think there's a lot going on here. Yeah.
But see, and so this one hooker was so hard. She was coming on a come down or whatever, and she was grabbing that jail cell, and she was banging and crashing.
She was angry.
So because she had been arrested, but so she got arrested for hooking. I get arrested for walking drunk. So here's the moral of the story. The moral of the story is that sadly that when you are heavily intoxicated, it doesn't matter how rich you are, how famous you are. I mean, you see those pictures of Rihanna or Lindsay Lohan, and they look like Drake.
Oh, yeah.
And there's your thing. If you think and you're going to judge a hobo on the street that looks stinky and terrible, you look exactly the same when you're in this position. Yeah. Seriously.
That's a good point. And we've all seen those mugshots, too, of the people who do get arrested in America. These famous stars. I mean, the best one I think was still to this day is Nick Nolte. Did you ever see that picture of him where they arrested him? But the guy looked really terrible. His mugshot, absolutely horrible. Let's see if we can find it and put it on this.
And he was in a movie called Down and Out in Beverly Hills, and he was a hobo. And so you look better in that movie as a hobo than you did in his mugshot.
He did. He actually looked better as a hobo in the movie. I mean, this is a famous actor, and you know. And by the way, there's a nice picture where he's wearing his other, the shirt that made him famous in that picture, the mugshot. Let me just put the mugshot up here so you can see what I'm talking about. This is the famous Nick Nolte mugshot that everybody, when they talk about, at least make yourself look as good as possible when you have your police photo taken. This is the mugshot of Nick Nolte. Looks really bad. How's that? That's pretty awful, right?
Oh no!
What do you think?
That is he looks bad.
You don't like that?
He looks like he's about to be like Steercom. Like what?
Yeah, in a jail. Well, he famously the other day he wore that same shirt. He wore it. He was walking around town in LA, and he was wearing his famous mugshot shirt. Look, there it is.
Oh, wow.
He put it on again.
And that's what drinking and drugging does to you. Look how terrible he looks. He looks just terrible. And that's...
Oh my God.
That's...
So, El, one other thing that we just have to tick off the list. There's a lot of catching up that we're doing here on this morning's show. So, what is you've had some experiences with OnlyFans recently as well? We've done Instagram. We've done. You're taking chances here.
Today, the hookers, the OnlyFans, the drunken
viewers. Just yesterday on the show, for anybody who missed it, Mash, who's one of our people at Cliff Central, he was telling me yesterday he went to subscribe to a friend's OnlyFans to support her. He wanted to be supportive. This is his story anyway. So he went on to support her, and then he ended up seeing what she looked like from the front, the back, underneath. Everything,
inside, outside, everything.
Yeah, and he's completely horrified. He's not sure that he can ever look at her again, and in the same way. So you got to be careful about these things. You're asking for trouble.
I want to give people a little warning about the OnlyFans. So firstly, if you don't know what OnlyFans is, let me put you in the picture. Back in the day, I think it started off as an engagement between micro influencers or micro well-known personalities, okay, and their fans. So you could ask for them to sing a happy birthday song and that type of stuff. I think that's how it started when it initially started so many years ago.
Although I think what you're confusing it with is something called Cameo, where you could actually get semi-famous people who used to be really famous, maybe actors, singers, but they've now kind of fallen off the A list. They're onto the B, C, D, and E list. And now you can get them to actually sing you happy birthday or to say, hi, this is, whoever it might be. Hi, I'm Julia Roberts, although she's still quite famous. I'm trying to think of someone who's, maybe who would be in this list? Hi, this is Bette Midler. You remember me from that movie Beaches? I just wanted to say happy birthday, Tom. From your wife Julia and your sister Meg and your child Darren. I just want to wish you a happy birthday. That's what they would do. So you'd pay this celebrity, this D-grade celebrity. You'd pay them money to leave this message. That was called Cameo. I think that's still going, but it may also have been where the idea for OnlyFans came from. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's not that. It's now a full-on pornographic site where everybody's making quite considerable money because you subscribe to these people, and then what you do is you can ask for direct messages. But generally, for them they have got a lot of sexual content on this website, and of course it's videos, it's pictures, it's sexy photos, and generally you won't find the fat people on OnlyFans and that type of stuff. You won't. So it's all the hot people.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah,
don't say that.
And generally, the skinny, good-looking people are all. So anyway, I hear about this OnlyFans thing. So I decided, listen, I'm going to go and check out this OnlyFans, and it's. Well, I heard someone was on it. Similar to Mesh's story. But here's the truth. The truth is that the person is really hot. So that's why I went to look. I wanted to really see what this person looks like without their kit on. That's why I did it. So I wasn't there to go and check out my friend and support them. I was going to support myself.
Okay. You're being honest. Yeah, you wouldn't know. Sure.
Yeah, and so, but I then discovered over the period of the last 6 months, seriously, about 10 to 20 friends that are on OnlyFans, and they are showing their goods off. They are touching themselves. They're doing their thing. And I came to the realization, and I think we should do this, Gareth, is I'd like to get a few porn stars well-known porn stars on the show, because I think they're taking the porn stars' jobs away. These are professional people, okay, that actually work in the porn industry, and everybody's just doing it. And it's like when everyone was opening their own little podcast to be radio stars. It's how annoying. All the people that think they can be TV stars, so they're opening their own YouTube channels. And so I'm feeling for porn stars, and I feel for these guys who have been making a good living in their profession, because they're professionals. Because they're porn stars are professionals.
But they can create their OnlyFans account.
They do. I'm sure they do. But everybody now has got an OnlyFans account. Everyone that's hot.
But I mean, surely then there's a gap. And if you really were smart about this, the gap in the market is to get these amateurs to have lessons from the professionals. So, like, for example, if you wanted to do a podcast, you would come to us. We would give you the training. We'd help you to record it professionally, so it's not in your garage. We'd set up all the right equipment for you, all that kind of thing. And we've done this for people. We've done this for companies. We've done this for individuals. So you go to the professionals. If someone comes to you and says, Al, listen, I want to do a TV show. I'm going to do it on YouTube, but I want to do it properly. You'll be able to advise them how to light the scene properly, where to put how to arrange the set, how you do the close-ups and the medium distance shots and all of that kind of stuff. You know this stuff because you're a TV producer. So people will come to you for the professional advice. I think the same goes for the world of OnlyFans. Is these people, these content creators, need to speak to the professionals, and they need to pay them for advice.
Well, that's not a bad idea, actually. So you're giving me a nice business opportunity. So, but if I can have a call to action right now, if there are professional hookers and they can give some advice to these three ladies outside my house, I'd love your advice. Can you please come and train them on hooker etiquette? Hooker etiquette.
And then I thought you're gonna go up to them and be like, "Hey, I'll create an OnlyFans account for you, and you don't need to be outside anymore. You can just take pictures or videos. Get yourself a nice apartment, and boom shaka boom, you're still making money, and you're charging in dollars, darling. So
it is in dollars, and that's fascinating. So South Africans are quite weak because imagine paying $15 for a subscription. It's for 200 rand to see a couple of pictures, and then when you direct message them, they say to you, "Okay, it's going to cost you $50 for a video." So it can be pricey in dollars.
How much do you think you've spent so far on OnlyFans?
I've just started, but we'll see where it goes. I'll tell you. I'll keep you informed.
Wait, how many accounts have you subscribed to?
There are a lot of my friends.
Oh God! You see, Elle, I just gotta warn you. I've just got to warn you. You may have given up alcohol, but it seems that you're developing another addiction here.
No, it's not at all. I'm very curious. Like your guest told you yesterday, I'm curious to see who's on this thing. But I must tell you, these guys they're doing well. They're taking the pictures from great angles. They've got the boom shaka in the right position. They've got everything going. It's fascinating. But I'm just
all right.
But there was a lesson. There was something.
Yeah, go on.
I'll tell you the lesson. Sorry, guys. There's another lesson. Just today, you're getting words of advice. But here's another lesson. Something that people must think about is that. Remember, once it's out there, it's out there. Because once you purchase the video, you own the video.
Yeah.
And so when you get out of your brain and you say, "Oh, COVID's over. I want to leave OnlyFans now because I want to go and find a girlfriend again, or I want to get married." And I own your content. I keep your content. You can take up your, but if I bought the content, it stays. So there's a couple of warnings. So remember. I don't know how you want to say this, and we can judge the ladies in the corner for sex work. But if you're on OnlyFans and you're doing porn, you're a sex worker.
You are correct. Yeah, there's no bones about it. And you can tell yourself that that's not what you're doing, but unfortunately, that's what you're doing. That is what it is.
Which if you're happy and content to live with that, that's okay. But understand that at the end of the day, the consequences of being 21 and having fun on OnlyFans is lacquer. But when you're 35, that content lives. And remember, Gareth, a lot of people, and I'm telling you, technology in 5 years' time will be able to go scour through the internet, and there'll be a program that takes your face and then goes to every single website and sees your mug shots on the FBI website, which they can still do now, and they can see where you've been at this party, where you're, if you've been on OnlyFans, if you've been on porno, but don't think that you're not immune to that.
Try and get a job when that starts happening. What I do think what'll ultimately happen, though, Al, is I do think that everybody eventually, because there are no people who are so pure as the driven snow that they've never done anything, they've never been drunk, there's never been an ugly picture of them, they've never sent anyone anything on a sex message or whatever. I think eventually everybody's going to realize, okay, nobody's in the Garden of Eden here. We're all running around like lunatics. Everybody's done something. And once that happens, it's not going to matter that much anymore. And then the people who did the OnlyFans would at least have made money out of it. The rest of us will be just sitting there going, oh, if only we had. So there are two sides to the story too. It's funny, we've spent almost an hour and a half just talking, because Al's on the show, obviously, about sex workers. But it's time to change. time to change.
I'm so sorry. At least we spoke about death.
Yes.
So, Simpiwe, if all of this stuff is making it easier for people to get together, find girlfriends and boyfriends, why is it that there are so many lonely single men? You found an article about this that might be quite interesting.
Yes.
Because people are always talking about how, despite the fact that it's easier to meet, even if it's digitally, to meet someone than ever before, and yet there are so many single, unhappy, lonely people out there. There's a difference between being single and having chosen to be single, but there are lots of people who are single and terribly lonely. And even though they've got all of these different apps and things, they still can't make it work.
Yes, so there's a rise of lonely single men, and there's like only one major reason for it is because relationship standards are going up. And the article talks about how women are demanding men to be much more intellectually, emotionally, I would say mature and bring like healthy attributes into the relationship. And because of that, a lot of men are finding it very difficult to date. And even though they're trying different things like dating apps, there's like 62% of guys on dating apps. And because there's more guys on dating apps, women feel overwhelmed and they're just like too many pics. So they're not really engaging with those dating apps. And just also women just being very vocal on what they want in relationships. So they're saying, I'm not going to tolerate toxic masculinity, for example. I'm not going to tolerate XYZ. And guys don't seem to be able to, raise the bar.
Just off the little bit that you've told us now, I think a big part of why this isn't working for women is because it's not women designing these apps, and men are looking for very different things to women. Men want like instant gratification. They want to see the picture. Yeah, they want sex, but what I'm saying, Elle, is they also want to see things. For a lot of women, it's more about how someone makes you feel. It's a little bit about the story. It's a little bit about what kind of a person you are. There's a lot more information that needs to be gleaned there, and none of these apps can do that as well as being in the company of somebody and actually having a conversation. So I think maybe part of the problem is that all of these apps are designed by men, and therefore the main idea is from a male point of view. It's like hookup culture, right? Which, let's face it, there's no woman, they can say that they like it, but I don't believe deep down inside there's any woman in the world who's enjoying hookup culture as much as they would if it was actual meaningful relationships.
Can I ask you something? See, so there's always two sides to the hookup story. All right. So remember, men are out there.
Yes.
They're on the Tinders, they're on the apps, the dating apps. I get it. Remember, they are scoring, and they're scoring with women. Yes. So there are plenty of women that are out there to get the same instant gratification that men are, because they're matching. And it's the same as and we've seen this before. Mates go out to pubs and they take a girl home. That girl was also looking to go home when she was going to that pub.
True.
So let's there's always two. So we're very quick to say the mirror of the app is man. But for that app to exist and for it to be successful, they have to be meeting the same thing.
But that's looking at it in one aspect. I would say if you're ultimate goal is to be married. And if you're not married and you are unhappy, that means you haven't achieved what you wanted. In as much as I could be hooking up with 10, 15, 20 guys and living my best life, I'm still unhappy with the fact that I haven't obtained that goal of marriage. And that's what I think is getting harder. People, it's easy to go to a club and hook up with anybody, but it's harder for you to actually engage in healthy, meaningful relationships where you connect with someone on like not just a physical basis, but an intellectual and emotional basis. And I think that's also part of the issue with this hookup culture, is that too many of us are like, hey, you sexy, let's get it on. And then they can't even string along words, and you can't have conversations with them, and you're just like, well, on to the next one.
It never lasts, and it's very unfulfilling for a lot of people, not just for women. I think there are a lot of men who find it very unfulfilling too. They just don't admit it, because as long as their urges are dealt with, they can focus on other things. I think this is a very important development, and I do think it's going to affect humanity badly in the long run. It's all good and well now. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's out there, as you say, they're scoring left, right, and center. But I do think there's a large percentage of people who are feeling very unfulfilled. And if you look at the way relationships don't last very long, if you look at the way there's so many people who are having suicidal thoughts, so many people who are depressed, young people we're talking about, who are involved in this hookup culture. Some of them may be hooking up 2-3 times a week, but they're still depressed. And I think that's worth taking note of. That's part of what Simpi was talking about here.
So there's a couple of interesting things. Firstly, we are missing, especially now that COVID period has been took a hell of a lot from us. But for example, people would be able to go to weddings and meet other people, okay, and maybe be on the same wavelengths. So people haven't had weddings for quite some time now. All the weddings have become much smaller. So these big weddings are not happening. Number one. Number two is church. Church was a great place, or synagogue, or yes, maybe not mosque, but church was a great place to go and meet people. And well, you can't, but church is a very good place to go and meet people. And then we had great family events. Remember, we had people that the grandmother used to have a birthday party, and she used to then say to the other granny, and the two grannies used to talk and say, oh, let Bob and Jane meet each other. And then the grannies would set it up. It would be called a shidduch in Jewish culture, and they would hook it up, and they would do those type of things. So you'd have the elders not arranging marriages, but arranging for people to meet. And so we haven't, in the last few years, we actually haven't had those events which brought people together.
It's not just COVID. Also, people are becoming less community-minded, less religious. Families have broken down quite badly in some places. People don't grow up with both parents. Sometimes both parents aren't around. Sometimes they don't even know who their cousins are. They don't know who their parents are friends with, because they don't necessarily have anything to do with their parents. So you're right. Like, a lot of those old ways of meeting people who you might have connected with just because you come from the same culture, or you have the same interests, or your parents knew each other for years, those things are all out of the picture now.
And we used to, things like, for example, in the Lebanese community, we would have a debutante's ball, Gareth, and it sounds old-fashioned and archaic, but those debutante balls or those youth events used to bring people together. And my mom and dad meant that way. And a lot of people, I did the last debutante's ball, I emceed it with the Ann Manus, and we realized at least 50, 60 couples, because they were celebrating them, met through the debutante's ball, met through these, the church, met through. So now they know debutante balls, they know socials. Let's put you there. And they know weddings, even funerals.
So Simpiwe's gran is obviously a very important person in her life. And I'm sure your gran is constantly trying to introduce you to guys, right? All the time, because she wants you to be married. All the time.
Yes. In fact, any guy that enters the house, she's just like, hey, are you single? I have a daughter right here. She has no kids. Just look at her. Just take her. How much is lobola? You can have her today. That is literally her words to any man that walks in, any man, because she's just like, girl, your time is running out. Like, you need to get married because that's very important to her. And I think as a singleton, I kind of see how it is harder to date now, I would say, because you're competing with so many different things. You know, I want to have a career, and I want to make it and make sure that financially I'm good, but you also want to make sure that the guy that you're with, he's nice with it financially, you know, intellectually, and you're asking a bit more than what our parents asked back in the day. And then it's like, well, the world is also happening. And so the reality is that there's certain things that are taking longer to obtain and achieve. And we're just not getting married younger, like at a younger age. Like it's kind of the norm for people to get married at 32. 35.
All of the stuff you're saying, and even when your gran is like trying to palm you off to everybody, I mean, her intentions are good because she comes from an era where that was the most important thing, where it was really important that a woman wasn't alone and single in her 30s, for example, which you've still got a long way to go till you get there. But the fact is, Elle, like, you need people who actually have your back, introducing you to people who they think have got value. So
well,
I think these days a lot of us we feel a bit like, you know, someone's interfering when they try to kind of hook us up with somebody. They're like, oh, you've got to meet this person, or you've got to meet that person. But it comes from a good place usually.
So let's put a disclaimer in here just immediately. You did make your gogo sound like a pimp. So please just come in, take her, give me the money. Go. Please.
And then we're back at the hookers. Again, we cannot get away from it. Every 5 minutes.
Yes.
I just wanted to put that.
Yes, she's not.
I thought it was just clear because I wanted to make sure that we're on the same page. Okay. So,
right.
Because you said a lot of things, but you know what? You're 100% correct. That at the end of the day, people need more socials. You need to know, introduce to other people, and you know, this is what I think we can do as human beings. Gareth, if I find a nice guy that I think should go for your sister, then I should say, listen, I think, you know, and I know you say people shouldn't interfere, but generally, you know, your friends, and if you come across, I'm always looking. I'm always looking to see, you know, I often have a beautiful girl, and she'll say, or a mother will say, oh, she hasn't met someone yet, and I think just like, oh, there's a lovely guy I'd like to introduce you to. Actually, I have put some people together like that, and
I know you have.
And I have. So it's like a matchmaker. So it's cool to do that. So I'll keep my eyes out for you.
Thank you.
I won't pimp you out.
But Simpiwe,
let me tell you the criteria.
Yeah, go. Here,
what is the criteria?
List the criteria. Here's what Simpiwe wants. I'll see if you can find someone who fits this bill. Go for it.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, so somebody that's tall, handsome, you know, somebody who is financially stable. Yeah, I'm not trying to be crying in a taxi. I'd rather cry in, you know, a nice Bugatti or something. But you know, somebody who's making bank would be highly appreciative, especially in these times that we're living in, where petrol is just ridiculous, and you know. So yeah, that's very important. In fact, that's very important. Very, very important.
So you talk about emotional development. This is your words at the start of this conversation. Now we would like, and you've spoken about hotness, looks, tall, height, and money. I don't know. Love didn't come into it, Gareth. There was no love. There was no. I like you to be romantic. I want you tall, dark, handsome, with a big bank account. But that's what you basically.
You know, Ruth love is a choice.
There's a Jewish fable that if you match 3 couples successfully, you go straight to heaven. I think that should be true across the board.
And it's called a mitzvah. So you do 3 shidduchs and then you get a mitzvah. And I want to tell you, I've done 13, so I can take a few people with me.
Wow!
Because a lot of people aren't going. So Gareth, if you've been misbehaving, I've got a ticket. I've got a spare ticket to take the train up.
Thanks, Al. You've got an extra ticket for me. Snaye says my mom is like your grand Simpiwe. She called me the other day and said, Snaye, in life, a person has 3 important certificates: a birth, death, and marriage certificate. And I was like, no, Ma, we replaced the marriage certificate. Yeah.
I think your mom, my gran, they've met each other.
Relax, I'm not getting married anytime soon.
Yeah, that marriage one is very important. Like very important. Like anything else doesn't matter. As long as you've gotten married, you've made it.
And then Elle, I mean, it must be true for you as well, because you're the same age as me. How many of your friends who got married not so long ago are suddenly getting divorced?
Well, a lot of people are getting divorced. So I'm enjoying the single life. I haven't been married and I haven't been divorced as yet. I mean, straights can't get it right. Why would the gays do it? I don't get it. But but here's the thing. That a lot of people my age are getting divorced or onto their second marriage and getting divorced from that, which is quite interesting. It's interesting to see. And a lot of friends, and actually Gareth, mutual friends that we went to a wedding to recently, they're getting divorced. So it's quite sad. So I don't know. I don't know what sometimes marriages don't last forever, and that's okay. Not everybody's got to get married. That's also okay. I think that you can actually customize your life to what you need. Like for example, now I'm in the daddy phase now. I'm 44, so they all want daddies. Everyone wants a daddy, so I'll go with the daddy thing. Everyone, So
MM says I have a friend who's 45. He's on his 5th marriage. Talk about customizing. And Steve says I'm nearly 59 and I've never been married.
And that's great because Jacob Zuma's on his 6th marriage, and that's fine. And
Lighthouse Barber says, sorry for being an asshole, Elle, but please forgive me. Was not in a very good place. That's Robin Badger. What's that all about? I don't know what this is. I don't know. Elle, you upset someone called Lighthouse Barber.
Am I not in a good place, or you're not in a good place?
I don't know. Maybe it's something we don't understand. Is Ellen okay? Says David. We have not heard about a hooker in the last 3 minutes.
Guys, you're gonna think I'm obsessed with hookers. I'm not obsessed with hookers. It's just
it comes up a lot. That's all we're saying. It's always saying
because I find myself always in situations with hookers. It's just
now. Let me ask you this.
Side.
So I've met, and we started the show talking about how Al unfortunately lost his dad very recently. And, this was a great man, by the way. Alan Ford Sr. was a really tremendous human being. He just loved life. He was one of those people who was always full of energy. He was happy to see people. He played golf. He had his friends. What's your Lebanese golf club called that they all belong to?
The Phoenician Golf Club.
That's right. Okay. So let me just ask you this, and this is a serious question, because your mother she's a lovely woman too, and she's beautiful, and obviously she needs time to now deal with what's happened to her. Would you be okay if in like 2 years' time she came to you and said, Elle, she wants to get remarried, or she's got a boyfriend, or have you thought about this at all? I know it's still early, but
wow. Well, the interesting thing is that I don't know. I mean, my mom met my dad when she was just turned 14, so they'd been together.
They
for
were
50
high
years.
school. They were high school sweethearts, right? And she never ever had another boyfriend. He never had another girlfriend.
Yeah,
it's amazing, beautiful story.
But on that whole collective, at the end of the day, whatever makes people happy, So if whatever makes somebody happy, but I think sometimes you also you've had your run at it, and that's okay. Yeah. And when you're in your 60s, you might have, Gareth, you think of your mom and dad, they've also been together for also 50 years. And they probably also have content or are in a content situation.
But here's I've thought about this. So, I mean, I've thought about it, and they're still alive. But if my mom had to go, I think it would be essential that my dad would have to be with somebody. I think it's much harder for old men. They need somebody, right? And older women, they can be on their own. They as you say, they've kind of had that, and it's done. And also, old women are much more, I feel, much more sensible than old men. Older women who've, I just think that they don't need it as much. An old man usually needs a wife. You always hear about these 93-year-olds who've got lots and lots of money and they're married to like a 30-year-old or something. And that's because they need someone, not just sex, but they need someone for companionship.
Oh, so, I mean, I get the notion. I think it goes with, I'd say, and this is the important thing. I think people need to be happy. So if your marriage is not working for you and you meet someone else, and not in your marriage, but let's say you get divorced, that's good. You can do it 5 times. And if your partner does die and you want to meet someone else, that's also great. That's also cool.
Some people are being very rude here. I just got to say, someone Vincent says here, Simpiwe, the dust on the shelf is going to overwhelm you.
I rebuke that spirit, child. No. No.
Cast it away. Yeah, I do agree with you,
Alice.
No. You got to be happy, and if you're not happy, then be with someone, but don't think that someone's going to make you happy. You kind of have to figure that out.
And Gareth, I must tell you, I'd love to meet someone, and I've actually haven't been with them for a while, like in a relationship. But I think it's really, really, I'm very content with myself, and I'm enjoying my own space, and and it's true. As you get older, you also start to find that you get more set in your ways, and set in your ways is not a bad thing. Set in your ways is that I know what I like, and I know what I want, and I know what I'm going to wish for a relationship. So for example, if you're going to get,
hold on a second, you don't think set in your ways is a bad thing? You're the first person who's ever said that. Okay,
but you know, yourself. because I think you know yourself. I think you get to know what you like. You get to be more authentic to yourself. Your self-actualization becomes a reality. You're not people-pleasing as much. You're not compromising with things that you wouldn't compromise on. You know, you start to realize that I like my house in a certain way. Gareth, would you want someone? I mean, you're a neat, clean freak. Would you? And I mean that. Would you like somebody coming in and as beautiful as they are and as lovely as they are to come and ruffle your cupboards and mess your stuff up and mess your house and cook in the kitchen and things? Then there's Napolitano sauce on the wall. Do you want that?
Grease.
You know, it's just something I want you to think about because you can, and I'm not saying, but you can get set in your ways, and that just means you know what you want. And why can't you know what you want and be happy with what you want?
So I think about this a lot. I mean, we're doing a thing for my mom who's turning 70 next month is her birthday, and 70 is a long way. When I was a kid, I thought, oh, 70, you're going to be, finished. Life's finished by 40, let alone 70. And you kind of think about these things and you see what other people are up to, and you can't help it. Everybody does. They compare themselves. But I do look at so many people who are either unhappily married, and obviously I would hope that among my friends, those are the minority. I wish for everybody to be happily married. If you're going to be married, let's hope it's happy. But I see divorces. I see people cheating on their spouses. I see them getting into situations where they're lying to each other, or they resent each other, or they resent the children, which is even worse. And I just think, you know what? It's messy stuff. That it's better to just I would rather be in my position 10 times over than be in a situation where but also where you've ruined other people's lives. Like, let's say you've been married 3 times and those 3 women hate you, or you've got kids with the one, but she doesn't want anything to do with you. And then the kid is all messed up because you never see each other. There's a lot that can go wrong here.
And there's other interesting things. Like I'm not being funny, but once you're a cheat, always a cheat. And I'm not saying that's a case in point. But if you're a philanderer, why would you go and get yourself in a 3rd marriage when you know you're going to philander again? It's just so. Rather just then have an open relationship if that's what you wish. But then make sure they're on the same page. But here's the thing: at the end of the day, you know what you want. As you're getting older, you get set in your ways, and being set in your ways doesn't mean that you're an old grump watching TV. It's not that. It's just that you know what you desire, what you want, and how you can, and you can play the game from an authentic point of view. But don't bring me somebody that all of a sudden is 25 years old and they want to go and paint a graffiti new style in the house, and then it does happen. It happens. Do you know what I'm talking about? These guys get these younger girls, and all of a sudden they want the Ferrari. They the First Wives Club. It's in that movie. It's actually poignant.
Yes.
And she's redecorating. Sarah Jessica Parker is redecorating the apartment of the new husband, and she's putting this leopard print on the wall, and she's doing all these crazy things. And at the end of the day, it's you're more set in your ways. So maybe it's the devil you know rather than the devil you don't.
Well, that's probably it. But we've got to work to find Simpiwe, this man, because otherwise her gran is never going to leave her alone. So, Alan, you've got the list. It has nothing to do with love. It's all about looks and money, and
Looks and money.
and that's it. So, if you can make that happen for Simpiwe, then we'll have done another mitzvah. So you'll have so many points that heaven will be bending over backwards to welcome you in.
I remember my friend. Was a mutual friend of ours, Gareth, who said to me, she is done with Ikasi men. She wants Germans. So I sort of know, do you want like Europeans? Just checking. She wants the euro. She wants the euro. But I'll never forget when and then another thing that Carolyn Stain once said, and she had her Doe Stain had a breakup, and we talk about this often. And they weren't together at the time, and she was dating a millionaire. And I said, and she was in a bit of a mood. We were at an event, and she said, what's wrong? She said, oh, he's giving me a bit of grief, this new guy that she was dating in this break that her and Doe were having. And I said to her, my angel, why take shit from a millionaire when you can take shit from a billionaire? So, rather put your things in
play. My language. She's speaking.
So. Excuse my French, but at the end of the day, I know what you're looking for, honey. But yes, don't give me this Ikasi. That's what she said. Don't bring me Ikasi. Bring me a nice German with the euro.
Yeah. All right. Well,
I do drive a German car, so very much.
You could drive a German and you could ride a German. It could be all.
Wow. All right, Elle, we're almost wrapping things up. We've got like 2 minutes left. It wouldn't be right if you didn't end off with mentioning the hookers again, because people love to hear about the hookers. So anything else?
Well, again, if you can help me with my Instagram account and my hookers outside my apartment, you don't stop bothering me, I would much appreciate it. Please, you could follow me because I need new Instagram followers. Nice. Alan Chubby Ford. And I want to tell you, Gareth, we've got some exciting things happening. So stay tuned to great things happening across the board, and of course, Cliff Central is going really well.
People have been asking what happened to your show where you interviewed all the people who were doing, plays and musicals and theater productions all over, because it was a big thing that you used to do, and the spotlight was a favorite for some people. Also, all those people are now asking to be. They're all asking to be on my show, and I've said no. So they're looking for you to come back so that you'll interview them and have them on and let them perform and all the rest of it.
So I'm going to give a quick little plug out because I can do this quickly now with you, Gareth. Mark Lottring, by the way, is at the Peter Turin Theatre. He's fabulous at the moment. The Trolley Dollies are coming as well. A phenomenal show, also Peter Turin Theatre. Don't miss it. I also saw that there's a Sister Act, the musical, is taking place.
Oh, yeah?
Also in Johannesburg. The theatre is alive and well and coming back in full force. The show's going to come back shortly. I can't wait to have these phenomenal South Africans back into studio, making a noise, singing, doing crazy things. And of course, so the spotlight with myself will be coming back shortly. So we look forward to that. And I look forward to being back on the Cliff Central platform. Of course, podcasting is the way to go. Podcasting is the new Netflix of radio in South Africa. So that's great.
Listen, just one last thing, a public service announcement from me. Just be very careful, because apparently we've got foot and mouth disease that has broken out across South Africa. So obviously it affects cattle, but a lot of people who can't keep their feet out of their mouth as well. So look out for those people and just be careful. That's all.
Oh, and there's a new monkeypox case in Western Cape. They got it from Athens. Seriously, from Athens.
Are you worried about monkeypox?
I don't know, but I'm kissing a few people. You got to be careful.
Jesus, El, be careful. We don't want you to get the monkeypox. Apparently, you get sores all over your genital area. It's going to be horrible. We don't want that.
Okay, let's not go into Gareth. We ruined the morning. People are having their breakfast.
All right. All right, everybody. What a way to end the show. Genital sores. That's great. All right. Have a happy day, everybody. It's always good to have you on, and people love hearing from you. Thanks very much for joining the show this morning. If you've been on the show for a little bit, but you missed the beginning, you want to go back, you can listen to the podcast. That's always cool. It's always available to you. Plenty more to come on cliffcentral.com today. And for the rest of this week, we will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m.